All right, so we're going to change, we're going to change an AC compressor on a 2008 Tesla Model 3. And this shouldn't take long. Let's see how it goes. So there are 6 bolts here, but we're going to take off the entire bracket. So we only need to take off 3 of them. We're going to want to loosen the lines. The actual coolant lines. The rear one you could reach with a 13mm socket fairly easily. Now this system's already been drained. I'll probably say that like 5 times. There's no refrigerant in it. Of course, you want to capture your refrigerant before you do this. You don't want to just pull these off. And working above the car, I usually take my nuts off with a magnet. So if I drop it, it doesn't go too far. Although I've already got the pan off the bottom of the car where I took out all right, so there's one, and I'll pull this hose off, and I'll move this hose where it's not going to get whacked into everything. So this is the hose right here, and we're just going to, we don't want to over stress it, but we just want to move it out of the way so we don't bang into it. And then the other one's right here. This one you can't get with the socket, but you can get with a decent ratchet. You got an infinity ratchet, that's even better. So we're just taking the other side off, the other pressure line off. I don't know if it's the high side or the low side. Certainly doesn't matter. Once again, I'm gonna use the magnet so I don't drop this and have to go fish it out from somewhere. This one pulls off too, just like that. And once again, we're just going to move it out of the way so we don't bang it up. Now this one it doesn't want to pull out of the way because it's actually got a wire on the back of it. That this is a pressure sensor for the system. So we're going to get this one out of the way as well. We'll like move it right here, just doesn't get banged up. All right, there is a power cord, that goes to the floor, and we've already disconnected it. But you have to take the bottom pan of the motor off. There's a trick to this. There's a red tab here that you slide down, and then there's a green piece that you push in to release this clip right there. All right, so the electrical's free. There's also a couple of wiring tabs here. We'll pull those off as we take this out, but we are free to go. So I'm gonna just stick one hand under it. It's sort of heavy. For a one-handed job, because you got to undo some clips here that are fairly obvious because it won't come out without undoing them. And some of them you sort of need a pair of pliers for, which of course I don't have handy. Now this thing probably has oil in it, so we could have capped that off. Let's screw it away. Make sure nothing else. So we can pull this out enough to do these back 2 things. we're going to once again just use a screwdriver here to push this clip. Okay, and that just pops out. And the last thing we've got is this star driver here, which I didn't get out. Sorry about that. So it is a star like this. It's just the ground. I don't know why this screw is a full inch long. It's a little ridiculous. Put that in the magnet tray. Magnet trays are nice. All right, now remember this has oil in it. So don't, and you're gonna need to measure how much oil's in it, so you know how much oil to put back in. Although the Tesla manual says, you might wanna check it. It's either 20 or 40 milliliters. I'm gonna go with 40. So there should be 40 milliliters. Anyway, this is the compressor out. Now, you can reuse this bracket if you want, depending on if your replacement compressor comes with one or not. Mine did, but it looks a little rough, so I might just swap it out. So I'm gonna pause the video for a second. All right, so I switched the bracket from the old one to the new one just because this bracket was a little cleaner. It took all of like 3 seconds. So notice this cap's in it. Can you see that? That's because I pre-filled this with oil per the manual. So this has enough oil in it right when it first starts. You don't want to run your compressor dry. If you buy a brand new one, it may have oil. But the trick is, what you do is you take your compressor that you get, the replacement one, you drain all the oil out of it, and you take the one off the car, you drain all the oil out of it. And you make sure that you put the same amount of oil back in the system that you took out, in general. Now, if you had some sort of, systemic failure, like you replaced other components or pipes, that's of course going to vary. All right, now we're going to put this back in. I'm going to leave these safety caps on so the oil doesn't pour everywhere. And we're going to route this high voltage wire first. We're going to untangle it. So these wire keepers here, these things just push onto these exposed nuts. They're really nice. They just push on and they just self-grip. So they're not wire ties or anything. So you want to route this the same way the other one came out, which is on the left side of these black wires, over the frame, and down. And what we're going to do is we're going to go under the car to reconnect that, but we don't need to do that right now. We can bolt this right in. The assembly is the opposite of disassembly. So this wire goes in this hole like that. And we're going to go ahead and connect back up this stuff. We'll do the ground first. It is the most constraining. And snug that down. Okay, now there's this clip from the back. This is the OBD, or CAN bus to the pump, so the computer can talk to it. This was the one from the sensor that we unplugged, and we'll plug that back in last. We want to go ahead and get the pump mounted before that. And now we're just going to slide it up under, and this will be a little awkward. I'm going to leave this bolt up for a second. We have 2 bolts back there we can use to grab a hold of it. And let's see how awkward I can make this. Let me grab the drill. Just so you know, this is DeWalt. It's the only tool, and it's got a 10mm in it, which will make my life much easier. And it's a hammer drill, so it torques it pretty good all by itself. All right. I'll snug that one up with an actual wrench. Just because it's at a little bit of an angle. That was pretty good. I'm just checking these torques here. They all, you know, this hammer drill does a fabulous job. All right, so it's installed. Now next, what we need to do is reconnect these lines, and I want to make sure I reconnect this sensor. Although if I forget to, it's really not such a big deal. So I'll get this back in the general location first. All right, and I'll take these caps off. Now I just left these thumb tight, make it nice and easy for me. So these are the caps I left on to keep the oil from coming out. Sometimes a pump will come with a little plastic one, as long as it keeps oil from flowing out. So just this thing. Don't need that anymore. Let's stick this in there. And once again, I'm going to use the magnet so I don't drop this. Well, I didn't need it. That's fine. Having one of these tight ratchets like this makes a lot of jobs much easier. And I recommend not a Harbor Freight one, like a decent one. I mean, this isn't a super expensive one, but anyway, nice little tight ratchet there. And the back one, I'll do the same. I'll pull the cap off. Once again, pull this off, and I'll put the actual coolant line, which I think I'm not sure, what did I do with that coolant line? That's not all I've lost. That's whatever the loose one is. Where did I put it? Somehow cram it down there. So much for not banging it into stuff. That's funny, it was lost. Not too tight. All right, so that's it. So the next thing we're going to do, let me get some of these tools and screws out of the way. Make sure I don't have some sort of an incident here. So we've installed the AC compressor. Next thing we're going to do is we need to vacuum it out, and we need to reconnect the electrical at the bottom. So we can reconnect the electrical at the bottom while we vacuum it out. This is just a little, $50, $60 vacuum pump. Fill it with oil. This is a set of gauges. I got this as a set from Vivo Home off of Amazon. I'm not an affiliate, I don't make money off of it, and I don't care. However, it's a decent set, and it comes with all the little things you need that you don't know you need. Like these fittings here that are really nice. So to vacuum it out, you connect the high port, and the way these fittings work, and the low port, is once you connect them, they're not connected yet. You got to turn these to the right for open. It's got instructions right there. Turn this to the right to open. We're going to connect this to the pump, which I'll probably have to move up here for length reasons. Hold your jokes. Now, if your system lost more oil than you would put in the pump, you would need to add that oil to this line. So you disconnect both sides and you pour it in, and then reconnect it and just put it in with the when you repressurize. All right, we're going to start the vacuum pump. I'll let you hear this run for a second, then I'm going to cut to credits or whatever. All right, we're going to open these lines here. That was the high line. That's the low line. And make sure these are open and open. Now we're going to let this vacuum out for quite some time. All right, while that's vacuuming out, we're going to go ahead and reconnect the electrical under the car. So come on down here. Sorry about the lighting. So, all right, so these things click on here like this. They just push on. It's a really nice system. Make sure I got the right length. See how these things just push on like that. And then this clip has, this plugs in, and then this plugs into the top of it, plugs into this. And this needs to slide in, that groove right here needs to slide onto this. So I cannot hold the camera and do this, so I'll just show you it wrapped up in one sec. All right, that's what it looks like. To remove this, you pull this red thing down this way, like this, and then you push on the green thing, pull like hell. This one, same thing, the red one goes up, and you pull it back. And then you just pull these off, they're real easy to pull off. Really nice system. And that's all there is under the car. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this bottom panel back on, right here, which has two 16 millimeters and 10 or 12 10 millimeters. And with the drill, it takes all of like a minute. Note, always use jack stands. I'll apologize to the environment for this, but I wanted to show you guys something. So when you open this valve, you can hear it, but you notice no gas is coming out. But if you do that, it comes out. That's why a lot of the time you charge with the can upside down. That make sense? All right, here we go. Step one. You make sure that that needle, you turn this counterclockwise, is back up in here, and this needle pierces this. So it's self-piercing. Once you pierce it, it's game on. You're never gonna stop the flow. So you screw this on nice and tight, and then you screw this down to break the seal. But you don't want to break it until this is connected. Now you can keep turning it and cut it back off, but you know, we don't want to destroy the ozone layer together. All right, so we're going to turn this till it pierces it. All right, now it's pierced it. Now we're going to turn it back out a little bit and turn it upside down, and we're going to vent this line. Now this line has air in it. These lines are vacuum. We've got to vent the air out of here. And we just did it for a second until you saw the gas squirting out. That's enough. Now we're going to start the car. Of course, it's a Tesla, so you don't really start it. But we're going to tell the AC to cut on, and then we're going to start adding refrigerant. Now this has we're going to open the low end port here. And we're going to open this valve. Now that's going to start going in. Now it's got a low pressure switch and a high pressure switch. The low pressure switch keeps the compressor from cutting on. So it's going to cut on in just a second. once it gets enough of this in there. And this has a flow gauge on it here where you can see the liquid going through. You probably can't see it from there, but you can see it from here. Now the compressor just turned on. Did you hear that? Now we're going to slow it down. We're in no hurry. And since we're putting liquid in, we don't want to bind up the compressor. So I got the AC on low, which is the maximum, so it'll spin this guy up as far as it can. So in the window, you can see the fluid just flowing in. Now I'm going to shut this for 1 second. We'll let it just pump some of that through the system. Now the red's closed. We're just using the low side, the blue side. You could shake the can to sort of get a feel for how much is in it. I'm going to check the window here. This can's almost empty. And I feel some heat coming out of here, which is good. That means it's probably cooling already. I'll stick a thermometer in it. Let that set for a second. It is already pretty cold in there. All right, this can's all done. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna close this valve. We'll leave the AC running. So we've disconnected this system. And we're gonna pull this off. I'm gonna close the can. All right, now we're gonna make sure this is empty. It is. We're gonna unscrew this. You put refrigerant in by weight. This Tesla happens to take 2 cans, almost exactly 2 cans. That was our first can. Now, I'm going to screw the second one on, but let's not make the mistake. Let's see, this pin here is all the way out. Want to screw that back down, or while you're screwing it on, it'll let the can go. So you screw it on, then you pierce it, but you connect it before you pierce it. All right, now you pierce it. And you back it out just a hair to turn it on. And now once again, we got to bleed this line just till it squirts. Sorry, let me get upside down so we get liquid out of it. Okay, now it's bled. Now we can attach it to the car by opening the blue slightly. We don't want to drive a bunch of liquid into the compressor. And now there's bubbles in this window. I know you can't really see it. It's actually hard for me to see. And you're backlit here from the sun. I apologize. Now there's a ton of heat blowing out. So this technically is a non-heat pump car. I don't know what they're talking about it. AC compressor is a heat pump. It's moving heat from the inside of the car to the outside of the car. Unless you turn the air conditioner on. I mean, unless you turn the heater on, then it moves the opposite direction. Let me slow this down for a second. So this is almost empty. We can feel it. We just let it suck that through. We can open the high side here to take a look. This high side valve's closed. We can open this high side to get an idea what the high side temperature is, pressure is. So now we have the high side pressure and the low side pressure. And I don't know if you can see that clearly, what the two pressures are. We're at like 50 pounds on the cold and hot, around 220 or something like that. So this is almost done. You can tell by shaking it, you can sort of feel the weight. So I think that's done. We'll just get the last of it out. All right, so I'm going to close off this valve. I'm going to close off this valve. I'm going to close off both of these valves. Let's take a quick look at the gauges. Let's call that sort of the final reading. And now we're just going to pull the two connectors off and we're all done. So these are closed. These are closed. And this is closed. And now we just pull these off. Like that. There you have it. Wasn't expecting that one. Anyway, and we put the dust caps back on. Now, these, you store these on the side like this. You don't let them just drag the ground, they just snap in. All right, now we're going to shoot the temperature here with the infrared. Looks pretty good. We've got the setting. Oh, I thought it had it on low. Oops. And then gauge. Looks good. You always have it on its coldest setting when you're recharging. It just makes the pump run faster. Well, that's cold. One more thing we can do here is we can use service mode to test it. So to get to service mode, you hit software, you hold this down, you release it, you type in the word service, enable, and you wait an indeterminate amount of time, and we're going to go thermal test, actions, and we can actually, so this had failed before because the compressor was pulling too much current, about 3,500 watts, which is a lot of amps depending on the voltage. So we're going to start that HVAC test, and to start it, it says put your foot on the brake and hold this up for 10 seconds. Okay, it's unlocked. Cut the blinker off there. And let's hit start. Now it's going to do an official test. This is the same software they use in the factory while they're building the car. If you see pictures of the cars in factories, I'm pretty sure they've got this red border on them. And we have success, so that means it passed. If it fails, it's really cool. It actually tells you exactly why it failed. And for me, it was high current, and I've seen that before. And when you're done with this, you hit right here and exit service mode. And then we'll put a reasonable temperature here. And we're all done. We just have to put the front of the car back together, which I'll show you next. And now we're going to put the front of the car back together, which is super easy. I will show you. Your 10mm drill and a few bolts, and you're all set. This just drops in like that. It's out of the way. Sorry, I used it for sort of storage. There's two bolts, two 10mm here, two 10mm here, and two on the floor. Got my handy magnetic tray and my handy drill driver. There's one in like an odd place right here. And there are two on the floor under the carpet here. At least in the mid-2008 model here. You don't even need to take your junk out of the car. And last, a couple of other things. This is the bottom part of the vent over here, which I took off just for convenience, so I could get to the pump. Actually, I don't know how I would have done it without it. And this just has two clips here, and this stabs in, so you just gotta make sure you get the stab. 1 second. Pretty easy to see from the inside. Stabbed. And the clip, that's on. And then you got this piece, which looks like it's a lot of work to take off. It's really not. Just literally just snaps like that. And the last piece, well no, second to last piece, this is super, super easy. You pull this off. And the last thing is this piece, which is your, oh no, I'm stuck in the car piece. And it's got one wire clipped right here. And of course that wire is inside the car. Ah, that is not cool. So since I didn't pull the fish's wire out first, we have to take it back apart. So you can see me do that. It's pretty easy. So if you you take all the screws out, it's easy. So just pull this basket up, push that wire out through the hole here. All right, now we're going to attach this. And this just snaps on, like so. And what do we take off the top? This again. And this last piece. All done.